Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday, it is match day. I hope you're having a good one whether you're watching or listening to this round the world. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Arsenal versus Club Brugge. Club Brugge versus Arsenal kicking off later on today in the Champions League. Arsenal looking to make it 6 wins out of 6, 18 points out of 18. That would be very, very nice indeed. So we're going to talk about that game in today's show. As usual, do the preview stuff, do the predicted 11. Got lots of you guys getting in touch saying what you want to see from Mikel Arteta today. We've got injuries, of course. We've got injuries to talk about, more injuries to talk about. We've got Gabriel Jesus to talk about, who has come into the squad because of one of those injuries. So it's all happening, as always, when it comes to Arsenal. So we'll start with the news that broke yesterday afternoon about Max Dowman and about Gabriel Jesus. Now, you've all heard me sort of ranting away over the last few days, thinking, I just don't understand why Arsenal didn't include Gabriel Jesus in the Champions League squad. These games would have been perfect for him, blah, blah, blah. Well, now he has been added to the Champions League squad. Unfortunately, it's because of an injury to Max Dowman. We spoke about this sort of yesterday in terms of Arsenal did have an option with Mosquera's injury of potentially replacing Mosquera in the squad with Gabriel Jesus because of a rule that UEFA have that you can make a change before, as long as it's done before match week 6 in the competition. But for that to happen, the player who is coming out of the squad, the injured player, is not allowed to play in UEFA competitions for 60 days. And obviously Arsenal are kind of hoping that Mosquera will be back before then, and so would be able to be available for those last 2 games in the Champions League against Inter Milan and Carrot Almaty. So they didn't want to do that. And so Gabriel Jesus wasn't being included. But now Max Dowman, unfortunately, in that behind closed doors friendly that was held at St George's Park on Saturday against Manchester United, has picked up an ankle injury and will be out for weeks, as Mikel Arteta has described, which is obviously a big, big blow for Max Dowman. We don't know exactly how bad it is yet. We don't know if it's an ankle ligament strain. We don't know if he got a nasty tackle on the ankle. The way Max Dowman tends to get tackled suggests, there's a good chance maybe he got a big kick on the ankle and it's not a ligament thing. Maybe it's an impact thing. We don't know at this stage. But what we do know is he has been removed from Arsenal's Champions League squad. That means even if he comes back before the 60 days, he can't now play in UEFA competitions. So he can't play in the final 3 games of the group stages. He can and will be added to the B list for the knockout stages of the Champions League. So that means Gabriel Jesus has come in, which is fantastic, which is great. It feels like these are 3 games that he can absolutely make a big impact in. No doubt about it. And it's good to have him back. And Gabriel Martinelli was talking about him yesterday in the absence and the boost that having Gabriel Jesus back around is going to give. Max, in terms of Dowman and Jesus, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say yesterday. He said, unfortunately, Max picked up an injury last weekend. So he did some scans and he's going to be out for weeks. And we have the situation of Gabby, who we were expecting to be training with us by the end of December. Gabby has been pushing every single day and he kept telling everybody, I'm going to be earlier. And he has done it. So thanks to his work and the work of all the medical staff, and what they've done in these months, we had the possibility to make a swap and we have done it. On one side, you see Max and the situation. It's obviously disappointing. On the other side, you see the joy and how happy Gabby is to be back in the Champions League. And Gabriel Martinelli was talking about him as well. Where are the quotes? They're over here. I've got them. He says, I love him, Gabriel Jesus. I always say that he's one of the best strikers in the world for me. So I'm really happy to have him back, not just on the pitch, but outside as well. Because normally when you're injured, you don't spend as much time with the team as if you are there. It's really good to have him back, and playing with him as well is really good. He loves to link up as well, to move and rotate. I just hope he can have some minutes in the next games to show his talent again. And we all know Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli have got a fantastic relationship. They play very, very well together. So I'm not surprised that Martinelli is happy that Gabriel Jesus is back. Will we see him today? Will we see him get his first minutes since he's come back from the injury today? I reckon there's probably quite a good chance that might happen. We'll have to wait and see. But it is a boost to have him in the squad for these next 3 games. It just felt like it would have been so frustrating not to being able to use him. But obviously it's a blow in terms of Max Dowman, and we hope that he is back very, very soon. In terms of other injuries, obviously Arsenal have suffered a bit of a blow when it comes to Leandro Trossard, who after the Villa game, Mikel said it was just, half an hour was what he was going to get against Villa, and they had to that was always the plan. And so that's why they brought him on at half time. They took him off after 75 minutes. But it now appears he has actually suffered a bit of a recurrence of the injury that had forced him out for the couple of weeks before the Villa game, which is obviously a big blow. Declan Rice hasn't travelled today, so he's not going to be involved in the game. He is ill, though, so should be fine, you would think, for the weekend. There's still no William Saliba. So Mikel said Declan was ill. He was quite sick after the game and he hasn't travelled. William is still not available. Leo again picked up another knock in an area where he had the issue before, and I don't expect that it's going to be long, but unfortunately he can't be here. On Declan Rice's recovery, he said, I think he needs more of bedtime than sunshine because he wasn't feeling good at all. So yeah, he'll have a couple of days to rest and get his body right. Today, he was very keen to play, but unfortunately, he is not here. On the injuries, now frustrating they are. He said, yeah, big. I mean, losing Max again is obviously not ideal with Leo, who is just coming back, but we have to manage minutes. Willie is not there. We've got Big Gabby out, and we have other players that could only play certain minutes, like, for example, Ricky the other day at Villa. But it's a situation where we've managed since the beginning of the season. We're in December, so it's been almost 5 months in a remarkable way. And we're going to continue. And it is just more injuries, isn't it? It's just frustrating, especially Leo coming back. Result, we've got him back. He's been such a huge player for Arsenal this season, so consistent in terms of his attacking output. Comes on against Aston Villa, scores straight away. And now it looks like he's going to be out again for a while. Hopefully, as Mikel says there, they don't expect it's going to be too long. But, obviously they came back a little bit too early against Aston Villa, maybe. I don't know. But it's a real shame for him. Good news that Declan Rice is only illness. And to be honest, I think he needed the rest anyway. So that's one that I'm not overly bothered about today. But it'd be good to get Leandro Trossard back. He was pressed quite a bit, Mikel, on the injuries and what Arsenal have been doing, in terms of, is it overtraining? And he was adamant in the press conference yesterday, he was adamant it wasn't anything to do with training. He's like, we haven't got time for training at the moment. He says, we don't train. Today we've only trained 20 minutes. So it's not because we've overtrained the players. He was asked about, you said you were going to analyse the injuries. What have you found? And he said, look, it's not only just about this season. It's about some of the players that have played for the last 2-3 seasons in a row. They start to get overloaded and then you ask them to play again and again. And because we've got other injuries at the moment, the injuries we're getting is a consequence of that, because of the stress that you're putting on players, because you're having to ask them to play more than you'd want to, because a lot of the players you'd normally be bringing in to rotate them with are injured themselves. So it was quite interesting. If you want to go and watch the whole press conference, you can find it on Haters YouTube, or you can read the full transcript on Arsenal. But I thought there was some interesting stuff from Arteta on the injuries and what Arsenal are doing to analyse exactly why they're getting so many and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, a bit of a blow in terms of not having Trossard available. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad. In terms of the game tonight, obviously Club Brugge have got a new manager. Nicky Hayden was sacked. They've got Ivan Leko has come back to the club. He was previously there a few years ago. And for Arsenal, that's quite disruptive in a way, because all the preparation ahead of this game would have been in terms of how the previous manager played, how he set the teams up, what he wanted to do. All the video analysis would have been done for that. And now suddenly you've got a new manager in with new ideas. Kind of a bit of a step into the unknown for Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, in terms of what they're going to face against Bruges tonight. But look, we're used to it. It's happened a few times for Arsenal recently with the old new manager bounce. Mikel said, obviously, you look at all the games, you analyse the manager and their identity and their last performance in the Champions League and in domestic competitions. Then in the afternoon, you suddenly get the news that they have a new manager. So you have to adapt. It's not the first time we are facing this situation. So, okay, we have to think about that with the possibilities and look at his past, and we have to focus much more on what we have to do. We have to be able to adapt in relation to what they do, as we said, in terms of their formation and the players, and they're going to pick. Then we have to focus on ourselves. We have to do that better than them. From what I've seen of Bruges so far this season, I haven't seen loads, but I watched the Barcelona game, which was an amazing game. I watched a lot of their game against Rangers. And what they're strong at, especially at home, is how quickly they transition and they get the ball forward. And they've got some really fast forwards who they just hit in the counter-attack. I do feel like what Arsenal experienced against Aston Villa will kind of be quite similar to what they'll face tonight in terms of that. Bruges, when they win back possession, if they press Arsenal, win the ball back in midfield, I'm pretty sure they're going to look to just hit the channels and get their fast wingers and fast attackers down, sort of isolating the fullback or getting turn in one of the centre-backs and having a one-on-one. So that's what they're going to have to watch out for, I imagine, today. And even with this new manager coming in, I don't see that really changing. So they have to be switched on defensively. If they can do that, then one thing Bruges do is concede goals at the other end. They've not got the greatest of defensive records. So fingers crossed Arsenal can take advantage of that. In terms of the predicted 11, now this was a tough one. It was a tough one to predict. And I'm pretty sure this won't be right. But this, in terms of what I think Mikel is going to do, this is what I've gone for. So if you watch it on YouTube, you can see it on the screen. If you're listening via podcast, then this is what I've gone for. I've gone for Raya in goal. I was wondering about Kepa, but I've gone for Raya in goal for this one. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Kepa, but I think he'll go Raya. So I've gone Raya. I've gone White and Timber at the centre-backs. Now, Josh Nichols, interestingly, isn't involved with the Arsenal UEFA Youth League game today. He's not in the squad. So maybe we'll see Josh Nichols on the bench tonight for the senior team. We'll have to wait and see on that. Marley Salmon also not involved for the under 19s later as well. So it's a strong suggestion he'll probably be involved in the squad later. But I've gone White and Timber again. I just don't really see what else Arsenal can do at the moment in that situation. So I've gone White as right back, Timber at centre back. I've then played Calafiori as a centre back tonight and Lewis Skelly. Now, my thinking behind that is I'm wondering if Mikel's going to be like, well, we're going to play Hincapié against Wolves. Calafiori can't play against Wolves, so we'll give him some minutes tonight, and then he has a rest at the weekend, and that allows us to rest Hincapié today. So that's my thinking of it. So I've gone Calafiori at centre-back with Timber today and Mars Lewis Skelly coming in at left-back. I've then gone Norgard in midfield, so no Zubimendi or Rice today. Obviously, we know Rice hasn't travelled. Zubimendi has. But surely he's going to play Norgard today. He did speak quite warmly about Norgard in the press conference yesterday. I wonder if I've got the quotes here. I can quickly just say this is what he was asked about, his sort of lack of involvement. He says, I'm really happy with how he's come to the club, especially with him and everything he does in many areas, not only on the pitch, but what he does. He excels in the manner that I expect him to. I think it's similar with Ben White or Miles. They haven't played as much as expected, but they're very positive. And it's all well and good sort of talking about that and what he's like off the pitch. But, you know, you've brought him here to be a player on the pitch and be a valuable squad member. And this is the perfect opportunity to give him minutes. So I think he'll probably start him. So I've gone Norgard, Odegaard, and then dropping Marino into midfield for today. And that allows Gyökeres to play it up front. So Marino playing kind of in the Declan Rice role. So Norgard, Odegaard, and Marino as the midfield. And then I've gone Madueke, Martinelli, and Gyökeres up front. So rest for Saka tonight. So that's my predicted 11. That's what I think Arteta will do. Raya, White, Timber, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, Norgard, Odegaard, Marino, Madueke, Gyökeres, and Martinelli. In terms of what I would do, I'd want to see Ethan Nwaneri start this game. I'd play Norgard, Ethan, and Marino. I think that would be my preferred choice. I would probably then go with that front three. I think it's important to give Saka a bit of a rest today. So I'd go Madueke, Martinelli, and definitely Gyökeres. I want to see Gyökeres up front tonight. Needs to get some match sharpness up because I want to get him back in the first 11 on a permanent basis as soon as possible because I think that's really important for Arsenal. And defensively, I would probably do that. What I've put for Arteta predicted, I think. I'd be quite tempted to start Kepa rather than David Raya, though. Just give him some minutes as well. In terms of the results last night, interesting one, obviously, in terms of Arsenal was Inter Milan versus Liverpool. Bayern Munich beat Sporting. I watched that. I turned it on. It was 1-0 Sporting, and I saw Bayern Munich score 3 goals very, very quickly. So that moves them level with Arsenal, having played a game more. But Inter lost with a quite frankly laughable penalty decision late on when Liverpool were given a penalty for a shirt tug on, I think it was Wirtz, and it was just, honestly, if that is a penalty, there's going to be 8 million penalties every single season. It's a joke of a decision. Never a penalty in a million years. But it's actually quite a good result for Arsenal because it means Inter Milan now had the chance to move level on points with Arsenal, albeit having a game more. They've not done that. So if Arsenal win tonight, they're in an incredibly strong position now to secure themselves a top 2 if they win tonight because of that result for Liverpool winning at San Siro yesterday. And Arsenal, of course, go to Inter next game. So if they win tonight, then basically a draw against Inter would pretty much guarantee themselves a top 2 position. They just have to make sure they beat Caro and Matti on the last game. So a little bit of added extra importance on tonight's game because of that result at San Siro. In terms of what some of you guys would want to see tonight, is a few of your comments. Thank you as always for sending them in. Devan says, my 11 for Bruges would be Raya, White, Timber, Calafiori, MLS, Nwaneri, Norgard, Marino, Madueke, Gyökeres and Martinelli should win comfortably 3-1 scoreline. Ryan says, I agree. We don't want to drop into a rut of 2 defeats in a row, but I would still be changing up heavily where possible this week. I know the defence, we are pretty stuck. So Ryan's team is Kepa, White, Timber, Calafiori, MLS, Norgard, Marino and Ethan, Madueke, Gyökeres and Jesus. A start for Gabriel Jesus. I think he got 60 minutes, Jesus, at the weekend. In that Man United game, so maybe he's sharp enough to start. Nostradamus 86 says, hi Charles, second half squad management is needed with the likes of Timber, Zubimendi and Gyökeres subbed off after an hour mark. So your team is Kepa, Calafiori, Hincapié, Timber, White, Norgard, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Martinelli, Madueke and Gyökeres. Come on, you Gunners. And Kevin says, my team is Raya, White, Timber, Calafiori, MLS, Zubimendi, Norgard, Odegaard, Madueke, Gyökeres and Martinelli. So that is Kevin's 11 for today's game. And that is it for me today, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll be back in the morning with the big sort of review show. You want to get involved in that, come back to this video after full time tonight. Give me your thoughts on what you've seen, who impressed you, what didn't impress you, all that sort of stuff, your reaction to the game. And I'll pull some of them together as always and get them included in tomorrow's show. Until then, enjoy the game later. Have a good day and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.